Bandwagon Effect, the social proof technique. The bandwagon effect exploits humanity's deep-seated desire to belong and conform to social norms. This technique creates a powerful illusion that a particular belief, behavior, or choice is the dominant trend in society, thereby pressuring individuals to align themselves with this perceived majority. The psychological mechanism behind this technique is rooted in our evolutionary history. Humans evolved as social creatures where group survival was crucial, making us inherently sensitive to social cues and majority opinions. This ancient survival mechanism now influences our modern decision-making processes, often unconsciously. In contemporary applications, the bandwagon effect manifests in various sophisticated forms. Social media platforms leverage this through visible metrics like likes, shares, and follower counts. Marketing campaigns frequently use phrases like "join millions of satisfied customers" or "the fastest-growing brand." Political campaigns emphasize poll numbers and crowd sizes to create momentum. The technique becomes particularly powerful when combined with FOMO, fear of missing out, and social validation. Companies create artificial scarcity, limited time offer, or showcase testimonials from a wide demographic to strengthen the bandwagon appeal. The rise of influencer culture has added another dimension, where the perception of popularity becomes self-fulfilling as more people join the trend. What makes this technique especially effective is its subtle manipulation of social proof. Even when people are aware of the bandwagon effect, they often still feel its pull because the desire for social conformity operates largely at an unconscious level. Studies show that people are more likely to change their opinions or behaviors when they believe they're in the minority, even if that belief is artificially created. Appeal to fear, emotional manipulation through threat. The appeal to fear stands as one of the most potent propaganda techniques, exploiting our most fundamental survival instinct. This method operates by presenting a threat or danger, then offering a specific solution or course of action as the only way to avoid the feared outcome. Its effectiveness lies in how it bypasses rational thought processes and triggers immediate emotional responses. The technique works on multiple psychological levels. First, it activates the amygdala, the brain's fear center, triggering the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This physiological response puts people in a heightened state of alertness and anxiety, making them more susceptible to suggested solutions. The brain, seeking to reduce this uncomfortable state, becomes more likely to accept proposed remedies without thorough critical examination. Modern applications of fear appeal are sophisticated and often subtle. Health product marketing might emphasize the risks of aging or disease. Insurance companies highlight worst-case scenarios. Environmental campaigns stress catastrophic consequences of inaction. Political messaging often portrays opponents as existential threats to values, lifestyle, or security. What makes fear appeals particularly effective is their ability to create a sense of urgency and personal relevance. The technique often employs vivid imagery, personal stories, and specific scenarios that people can easily imagine happening to themselves. This personalization of threat increases the message's impact and memorability. The most sophisticated practitioners of this technique understand that the fear level must be carefully calibrated. Too little fear fails to motivate action, while too much can paralyze audiences or trigger defensive rejection of the message. The most effective fear appeals combine the threat with a clear, achievable solution.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Transfer association, emotional connection through context. The transfer or association technique represents a subtle but powerful method of propaganda that works by connecting ideas, products, or people with already established positive or negative emotions and values. This technique operates through psychological linking, where the emotional response to one thing is transferred to another through deliberate association. The method's power lies in its ability to bypass logical reasoning by creating emotional shortcuts in the mind. When a product is consistently shown alongside patriotic symbols, for example, it begins to take on patriotic associations in people's minds, even without any logical connection between the product and patriotism. This emotional transfer happens largely below the level of conscious awareness. Modern applications are highly sophisticated and pervasive. Luxury brands associate their products with wealth, success, and exclusivity through careful image selection and placement. Political campaigns link candidates with beloved cultural symbols or connect opponents with universally disliked historical figures. Corporate marketing often associates brands with positive values like family, freedom, or environmental responsibility. The technique becomes particularly effective when it taps into deep-seated cultural values and archetypal symbols. The use of music, color psychology, and visual composition all play crucial roles in strengthening these associations. For instance, pharmaceutical commercials often show happy families in sunny settings, transferring positive emotions to their medications. What makes this technique especially powerful is its cumulative effect over time. Repeated exposure to these associations builds strong neural pathways in the brain, making the emotional connections increasingly automatic and difficult to consciously resist. The associations become part of how people instinctively perceive and categorize information. Card stacking, selective information presentation. Card stacking represents the deliberate selection and arrangement of information to present one side of an argument while deliberately omitting or downplaying opposing evidence. Like a magician stacking a deck of cards, practitioners of this technique carefully control which information their audience sees. This technique relies on the principle that most people won't seek out additional information beyond what's presented to them. By controlling the narrative through selective presentation of facts, statistics, and expert opinions, propagandists can create a compelling but incomplete picture that supports their position. Modern examples appear in political debates, where speakers cherry-pick statistics that support their position while ignoring contradictory data. Advertisement campaigns frequently use this technique by highlighting specific product benefits while minimizing or omitting drawbacks. News media might emphasize certain aspects of a story while downplaying others to shape public perception. The effectiveness of card stacking lies in its ability to present truthful individual facts while creating a misleading overall impression. This makes it particularly difficult to counter, as each individual piece of information may be technically accurate, even though the total picture is distorted. Name-calling, labeling, emotional association through language. Name-calling exploits the human tendency to think in categories and emotional associations rather than careful analysis. By attaching a negative label to a person, idea, or group, this technique can effectively dismiss or discredit them without engaging with their actual arguments or merits. The power of this technique lies in its simplicity and emotional impact. Once a label sticks, it can be difficult to remove and often becomes a shorthand way of thinking about the targeted person or idea. Labels can quickly spread through social networks and media, creating lasting impressions that resist correction. In modern contexts, this appears in political discourse, radical, extremist social debates, conspiracy theorist, anti-science, and commercial competition, knockoff, outdated. Social media has amplified this technique's effectiveness by allowing labels to spread rapidly and become part of common discourse. The most sophisticated practitioners understand that the most effective labels tap into existing prejudices and fears while appearing to describe rather than attack. This makes the technique seem more legitimate and harder to challenge. Testimonial, authority, and relatability. The testimonial technique leverages human trust in authority figures and peer recommendations to promote ideas, products, or positions. It works by borrowing credibility from respected figures or relatable individuals who endorse the message. Modern applications range from celebrity endorsements and expert opinions to social media influencers and user reviews. The technique has evolved to include micro-influencers and peer testimonials, recognizing that people often trust recommendations from those they perceive as similar to themselves. What makes this technique particularly effective is its ability to combine authority with emotional appeal. When a trusted figure shares a personal story or endorsement, it creates both logical and emotional reasons for accepting the message. The rise of social media has made this technique more powerful by allowing for more personal, immediate connections between influencers and audiences. The most effective testimonials often feature a mix of authority figures, experts, celebrities, and relatable individuals, satisfied customers, peer reviews, to create a comprehensive appeal to different audience segments and psychological triggers. Plain folks, common people appeal. The plain folks technique presents ideas, people, or products as being of the people and aligned with common values. It portrays messages or messengers as simple, honest, and relatable to the average person, regardless of their actual background or status. Politicians often use this technique by appearing in casual clothes, eating at local diners, or sharing stories about humble beginnings. Corporate leaders might emphasize their modest upbringing or regular person habits despite their wealth. Advertisements frequently show products being used by seemingly ordinary people in everyday situations. The technique works by breaking down barriers of suspicion and creating trust through perceived similarity. When powerful figures or organizations present themselves as just like us, it becomes harder to view them critically or maintain emotional distance from their message. Success in this technique requires careful balance, appearing authentic while deliberately crafting an image of ordinariness. Modern social media has made this more challenging but also more rewarding, as audiences can quickly detect and criticize perceived inauthenticity, while strongly connecting with content that feels genuine. Glittering generalities, virtue words. Glittering generalities employ emotionally appealing words and phrases that carry strong positive associations but have no concrete meaning. Terms like freedom, progress, natural, innovation, or family values are used to create positive emotional responses without specific definitions. This technique works by activating positive emotional associations while remaining vague enough that audiences fill in the details with their own interpretations. The words chosen are typically connected to universally valued concepts, making them difficult to oppose without appearing to reject these positive values. Modern applications appear in political slogans, corporate mission statements, and product marketing. Phrases like advanced technology, eco-friendly, or premium quality create positive impressions without committing to measurable claims. The digital age has amplified this technique through hashtags and buzzwords that spread rapidly but carry fluid meanings. The sophistication lies in choosing words that are both emotionally powerful and strategically ambiguous, allowing different audiences to project their own meanings while maintaining positive associations. False dilemma, black and white thinking. The false dilemma technique presents complex situations as having only two possible outcomes or choices, typically one extremely positive and one extremely negative. It eliminates nuance and middle ground positions to force audiences into choosing the propagandist's preferred option. This technique exploits humans' tendency toward categorical thinking and desire for simple solutions to complex problems. By presenting issues in binary terms, either you're with us or against us, it creates artificial pressure to choose sides and discourages critical thinking about alternatives. Modern examples appear in political rhetoric, vote for me or face disaster marketing, buy now or miss out forever, and social debates where complex issues are reduced to simplistic either-or choices. Social media algorithms often amplify this tendency by promoting content that takes strong, polarized positions. The technique becomes particularly effective when combined with emotional appeals and time pressure, making it harder for people to step back and consider more nuanced perspectives. Repetition, continuous exposure. Repetition represents one of the most fundamental and effective propaganda techniques, based on the principle that repeated exposure to a message increases its acceptance and memorability. The technique works through multiple psychological mechanisms, including the mere exposure effect and cognitive ease. Modern applications use sophisticated cross-platform approaches, ensuring messages appear consistently across different media channels. Political campaigns repeat key phrases and slogans. Advertising campaigns maintain consistent messaging across multiple touchpoints. Social media amplifies repetition through shares, reposts, and algorithmic content promotion. What makes this technique particularly powerful is its cumulative effect. Each exposure to a message makes it feel more familiar and truthful, even if the audience initially disagreed with it. The digital age has created new opportunities for message repetition through targeted advertising and social media echo chambers. Cognitive dissonance, psychological tension. This technique creates or exploits psychological tension between existing beliefs and new information, forcing people to resolve the discomfort by changing their attitudes or behaviors. It works by presenting information that challenges core beliefs while offering a way to resolve the resulting mental conflict. The technique is particularly effective when it targets deeply held beliefs or self-image. For example, someone who considers themselves environmentally conscious might be shown how their actions contradict this belief, then offered a product or behavior change as a solution to this contradiction. Modern applications appear in marketing campaigns that highlight inconsistencies between values and actions, social cause messaging that challenges comfortable assumptions, and political messaging that forces supporters to reconcile conflicting information with their existing views. Whataboutism, deflection through comparison. Whataboutism deflects criticism or uncomfortable topics by immediately referring to someone else's real or alleged misdeeds. This technique doesn't address the original criticism, but rather attempts to dilute its impact by pointing out similar problems elsewhere. The technique works by exploiting human desires for fairness and consistency, suggesting that focusing on one wrong while ignoring others is hypocritical. It effectively derails discussions by shifting focus away from the original issue to a different target. Modern usage has exploded in political discourse and social media debates, where it's easy to quickly find and point out similar situations or behaviors in opponents. The technique has become more sophisticated, often incorporating elements of moral equivalence and false equivalence to make comparisons seem more legitimate than they actually are.